Here for you today, I have prepared the perfect map for the Perma-Spike. Now let me explain. At a glance, it sounds pretty simple, right? Just simply make the longest map possible and put the Perma-Spike in the very back. And that's pretty much what I did here. I've already added all 48 nodes on this map, with the longest distance between them being one corner to another. And of course, what you want to do is for the final node, aka this one, to be in a place such that wherever you put the Perma-Spike, which I've highlighted with a candy, it is placed in a way so that the spikes will never touch a balloon on another lane. So let's jump into Sandbox to show you. The bad being the biggest hitbox misses the Perma-Spike by a nice margin. But you're probably wondering, what are these other lanes here for? You see, it's not quite identical compared to how I normally do it. Here's why it was designed that way. First off, you have to remember that the Perma-Spike isn't actually permanent. It lasts either 4/5 rounds or 300 seconds, whichever comes first. Obviously, on a map as long as this, the time limit is what's gonna get you. Like, let's just send out some really slow ZMGs, for example. With a map so long, the 300 seconds times out before the ZMGs even make, like, 2 full loops. And with 48 nodes, essentially this map takes 23.5 loops to exit. Therefore, if I made it so that the spikes only hit on the exit, then I'm gonna have a lot of wasted spikes, while the bads take their sweet merry time. They're obviously much faster than ZMGs at round 1, but it's not enough to make a difference. So what I first did here was I calculated how many loops it would take for, say, around 200 bad to go through before the spike would time out. I do around 200 because I'm guessing that's about how long the Perma-Spike will last for, the max buffed. Like on Chimp, so that's being a little generous, so we'll try like a higher round later, but let's count. That's 2 loops, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops, and just about at 6, aka 12 nodes /13, the Perma-Spike disappears. And just to be super charitable here to the Perma-Spike, but let's say if it made it to around 230, the bad would take this many loops. 1, 6, 7 loops, 7.5, 7.75 approximately. So giving myself some margin for error, I have made it so that the bad will take a short path twice throughout this map. One at about 16 to 18 nodes through, and one about 32 to 34. That'll make it so that every time the bads pass through at that speed, the Perma-Spike will basically be at max capacity, so it'll be able to use up most of its pierce without going too hard and having too many loops so that it won't have a full spike pile like before the first bad exits, if that makes any sense. And so just to verify my map is made correctly, the spikes here should get completely eaten by the bad, and that is correct. And now to ensure they don't get hit by the ZMG, actually, I might have tinkered it too much. I don't want to damage ZMGs because the BEDs are what's most important here. So let's shift it up just a wee bit. And now with the ZMG passing, just to make sure. Wait, what? How does a ZMG only take 80 damage from a pile as dense as that? Weird. I'll say good enough though. So again, Chimps mode, how many rounds can we survive with only the income generated from popping balloons? I've also fiddled with the water in this map such that a sub start can work, because the way it was before, I think putting a sub here would only hit the exit, but here it can pretty much get, well, at least 1 hit every loop through, so should be able to save for Spec 3, which costs more than the starting round in Chimps. And of course, just for quality of life reasons, we have tech bots to automate our ability usage come late game. And oh boy, where would we be without the help of a speed modifier, like for this challenge? Because usually with normal towers on normal perfect maps, they're able to hit well before the exit, but here, for like Regos for example, we gotta wait all the way till the Regos yellows get to the exit. So I imagine that would take multiple minutes. Also, you might be wondering why Pat Fusty instead of maybe Geraldo. Here's the math to explain why Pat is better than Geraldo. So remember that Geraldo lost his damage to Sharpening Stone. It only gives 2 pierce. Here are the base stats of the 025 Perma-Spike. By the way, you want attack speed, especially when you're max buffing. Usually, if we're talking about no buffs whatsoever, I think 105 barely edges out now, but I could be wrong. Regardless, 025 is best in this situation, and it has 10 damage and 50 pierce for every pile. Now, before that, I just realized regrows are a bit of an issue, aren't they? Well, we've been through this on other maps before, and the solution is just simply to drop a 030 foam, because we'll eventually turn this into an Ultra Boost. which will sacrifice for the temple for the support category. Anyways, as I was saying, 50 pierce per pile means plus 2 pierce, which Geraldo's Sharpening Stone gives, is only like a 4% buff. This is before applying other external buffs to it, which in that case it'd be like 3-point-something%. But take Pat Fusty. His ability at level 14 gives 3 damage, and 3 damage on 10 damage base is a 30% buff. Even though it doesn't have full uptime, that's still a sizable increase, but if we be charitable to Geraldo and consider, again, adding more damage buff to this spike factor to make it maybe like 25 base damage, then we're talking like a 12% damage buff over only, I believe it's a quarter of the uptime of Pat Fusty without buffs. But this is where the water and Energizer comes into play, because Pat is an amphibious hero. If you didn't know, you can put him either on land or on water. Even in the worst case, with the Energizer buff, Pat's ability is about half uptime. So half of that 12% damage buff is still a 6% damage buff, which is greater than 3-point-something, hence, Pat Fusty is superior. Unfortunately, I think we still have regrow Bloon issues, because this foam keeps getting pierce capped, and not even the plasma ball can keep up with this. Alright, fine, how about a second foam then, with an 031 of this guy? Nah, still not solved, because this map is too damn long. I have officially lost all hope. I think we actually need 3 NGs, and that still may not be enough, but hopefully, this marks the end of everything. Okay, finally. That should be enough to stifle every regrow, hopefully, because I don't really want to buy something super strong, like, because this is meant to be a Perma-Spike showcase, right? Even though I need to get the temple in the first place, I'd still love to just see how the Perma-Spike can tank everything, and the money is there right about now. Let's get it. And yeah, I'll just go ahead and get both attack speed crossbats, even make sure to give it an AMD buff, because I want to hit lead without it needing to buy a MIB. Now, the thing with the AMD here is that it is random, so you see it doesn't have full uptime on the buff, only does the Berserker Brew or Stronger Stim land the closest, so it's consistent. Anyway, it's unfortunately a shame here that we have reached another infinite regrow round with no way out, it seems. I think I actually dead-ended myself on 79. There was actually no way to not create a regrow farm, so I had to restart and start with Sun Avatar, sadly. And have this be my DPS/regrow blocker, because there's no way out otherwise. You see now, with Perma-Spike on smart targeting and this thing to break down all regrows, we are finally out of the woods of those regrow rounds. Anyways, in case you didn't know already, this is part of a series where I try a bunch of random tier 5s on their perfect map. And here are the results so far of all the towers I tried and what round they end up getting to. As I said at the start, I think it has a good chance of making it to around 200, because we're going to be utilizing all its pierce not once, not twice, but, well, 3 times. I don't know if it's too risky right now to still leave it on smart while we're saving up for the Sun Temple. Do these rounds have too much RB, or can we still get away with doing damage immediately? This is a bit of a problem right now because my AMD is random. It's got 3 other targets shooting. That's why DDTS are quite a big issue right now. Maybe I'll actually Ultra Boost the Berserker Brew, so that throws more AMD. Because you see, yeah, the DDTS are going through the 1/3 mark. The one benefit of this map is that you can tell how far the balloons are, rather than having to count, because you can just look at when it hits the 1/3 or 2/3 mark. Very cool. Anyways, I think each round is long enough on their own that there's no problem leaving it on smart, because if I end up dying, I can just like reset the round, put it on close. And that'll change up the round enough, because the previous round spikes would have already timed out, like, this far into the round. Also, there is usually a DPS counter I had for towers in this test, but it's pretty useless right now. Especially for Perma-Spike that does very inconsistent damage. This is a good test to see how much damage it does, like, per loop, though. So it did 20,000 to the BFBs there, and then another 12,000, so 35,000 per loop. Yeah, if we just crunch the numbers there, that's not a very good damage per second ratio. We also see mobs already getting through the 1/3 mark. This is probably one of those cases where the other towers that I don't want to do damage will end up doing a lot regardless, like the Sun Avatar, for example, / Temple. It's already, like, pretty 1-to-1. Also, this is pretty annoying, but I wanted to tech bot Pat Fusty so I didn't have to keep spamming his ability, but this also uses his level 10, which apparently, even at this range, can still suck in BFBs and ZMG, so I might have to move him a little further away. Anyway, a Temple, right on time for the fortified DTs on 128. Having this should be nice. We have overclock now, so thankfully our DPS is now back to where it should be on the Perma-Spike. Tier 4 Alk as well. And there's no need for Perm Brew, because it basically has full uptime, as you see. There's always that stim buff. For the most part, maybe one missing shot between the, like, cooldown between it throwing again. But I definitely don't think covering that is worth the 51,000 for the Perm Brew. Don't low now also, but Pat Fusty is really racking up the pops. You can thank the scaling of the mobs for that, because Pat Fusty one-shots no matter how much HP said Bloon has. And, come on, please hold. Perma-Spike does not hold. That's kind of, it's kind of scary, not gonna lie. I know there's still a lot of buffs to go, but it should not be falling this easily. But I've once again started the round with it on close, and this will absolutely positively do the job. Although I do have to remember, I didn't see there, but there could be a problem sometimes where Bloon's so fast that they skip over the Perma-Spike. So in that case, I don't think it was skipping over right there, but yeah. Are DDTs beefier than I thought, or what? I've tried more range on the temple and 420 perishing, but nah. Okay, so what I did this round is I took off Tech Bot and Pat Fussy, so I keep the stun. And I think this might do it. This is so scuffed, but that's the only way out. Close. One last try here. This time, pretty much the entire time on close. And let's see if that's built a strong enough spike pile. It looks good. Come on. Only 5 left. Holy crap. I thought we were done that round. Still, though, not a good look, because I thought this thing would at least get to around 200, but it's not looking likely if it can barely keep up with rounds like that. That said, before this round ends, I think it's a good idea to put it on smart targeting, because these spikes still matter. It'll get us a little bit of a head start going into the round. I'm not worried about this round, by the way, because it's only 1 bad. And also, holy crap, look at that speed boost at the start of the round. That's what we wish the Perma-Spike would be all the time. But sadly, it is not to be. Damn, that did like 80,000 damage. Regardless, these things are so slow compared to DTs that they won't even reach the 1/3 mark this time. You know, we actually might not be screwed after all, because I forgot to mention that Call to Arms Homeland is a double buff to the Perma-Spike. That is, it benefits from both the attack speed and the pierce, so right now Call to Arms is giving us basically 2.25 times the power on the spike. And when we get Homeland in $2,000 or so, it'll be a 4x buff. We are also now not taking any more risk and permanently leaving the Spike Factory in close. I tried doing normal a few times while AFKing some of the rounds, but it ended up doing just so much worse than the close spot, which, I mean, no surprise, I did design it for it to be on close to do the most DPS, or be the best. If anything, I think the following is pretty encouraging. Take a look at this 1/3 mark. As the bad bypasses, it is still easily enough to break down the entirety of the bad layer. Very cool. And once again, it shouldn't really be a surprise, but it's kind of crazy how many pops the other towers have, even if they don't do damage, compared to the Perma-Spike itself. 21 million, but literally 2 million for support towers like this 420 Alk and Cleansing Foam. What even is this? Also, hold up, this round would be very scary. Let's see if this Spike Ball can handle 3 bads. 1, 2, and... oh, it ran out of spikes for the last bad. Good try, though. We just have to also be careful in case, like, DTs exit right as bads eat up the entire spike pile. And also, as we end this round off here, can we take a second to appreciate just how many spikes we're producing? Once again, at the start of a round. And now that we got this, it's time for Energizer, so that we have more uptime on these village abilities. First thing we do with this Chinook is we move Pat out of the range so that he loses the range from the temple buff. And then I'm not sure how the range works here, but if I move the Alchemist low enough, it's possible that the Alp buff won't land on Pat Fostia, only on the Spike, so I wouldn't need another Alch, but no, I still think it reaches. This is dangerous, but what if I keep moving Pat up? We also, again, still want his level 3 ability to still work on the Perma-Spike. So let's see, does this work? Yep, perfect. And it's out of range of the Alchemist. So now we have the pure AMD buff on it, meaning we don't need a secondary Alch buff to support it. I gotta say, Chinook, greatest investment ever. There's our Energizer. We don't need you anymore, so let's put you back out of position. And then Pat Fusty back into the action, making sure it does not hit the Alch nor the True Sun God. I think here is good. And this second overclock is the last direct true buff I can give to the Perma-Spike. After that, it's down to the plus damage givers. aka Glue Storm, Cripple Moab, Super Brittle. Now, the Perma-Spike is a pretty unique situation in terms of this, because for the most part, I'm only doing the most damage right in front of the spike pile. So I don't need to spam the entire map with the embrittlements. Rather, I just need to put an ice tower right in front of where the spike is. So somewhere like here would work. Also, danger alert. This is going to eat up a lot of spike pile, while a bunch of mobs, I believe, are making their way towards the exit. So this part here might be a little scary. Yeah, I don't think that spike pile looks very healthy right now. Oh, and we died. Now that I think about it, I think I should have kept maybe this space to the right of the spike factory open, so that I could move Chinook. Because I think if I move it further right, then maybe the ZMGs won't hit it, because remember at the start, this spot did hit ZMGs. Unless something changes at this point, but I think we died to the same part, yeah. Okay, one last try here, because I just noticed I could just put it under the homeland, and that would still land in the same spot that I wanted it to be. Just now, it's out of range of Pat Fusty, so I don't know how that changes things. Maybe I have to Chinook Pat Fusty as well, and I probably will. But this spot is, of course, not ideal, so let's see again. Oh, this spot it only grazes the bad. Hang on. Again, that might be a good thing in the long run, because we died to the mob clump, meaning I actually do want to keep the spike pile healthy. So take a look now. I don't think we're gonna die this time with such a, like, dense spike pile. Is that right? Yep, I think we're actually going to escape this alive. Believe it or not. Admittedly, this run is starting to get really scuffed now, because not only do I have to move my spike factory back and forth every round, look at Pat Fusty's pops. It's more than the spike factory itself. Crazy how one ability alone can shift the tides. Anyway, you saw there, if I didn't move my spike factory that way, those mobs would have ran by us, and it still did. Okay. Let's have them go through 2.5 loops first, okay? And then move it here. Basically, we have to wait for all the insides to pop first before we move the spike factory back, but that's not going to happen, because there's so many of them. But here we go, 2/3 mark on the bad, and still not everything has been killed yet. So now we have to hope that a max spike pile can one-shot this bad here, which I think it should. Incoming, how much damage? 113 all the way to 544. Actually, 740. So about 600,000 plus if you include the insides. Wild. Looks like after everything we've been through, we will indeed reach the round 200 mark. And it should be very interesting to see the damage we get here. Now, I don't care about leaving it close because there's only 2 things here. So I'm just going to put it far where it will get maximum DPS. So how much damage on this bad? From 690 all the way to, looks about 80,000. And then another 70,000 for this one here. Meaning if there was only one F-bat, then we do about 150k per loop. Which I think is going to be enough. And there's 1, and 2 should be coming very, very, very soon. Come on. There we go. About halfway. But just like other towers in max buff tests, that's a problem. In fact, the bats didn't even eat up our sweat pod, but we died instantly because of the sheer amount of fortified DDTs. Like, let's put it back and close immediately. And let's take a look here. That line of DDTs is still healthy, and here it comes. Running through a defense. We had a spike pod, right? I think it was a speed problem that time. But there's not much you can do about that, right? Other than maybe move this back here for 2 different spike piles, but still. I think we are officially in danger, and this probably marks the end, yeah. So that's it. That took forever. Overall, again, Perma-Spike only did under 1/3 of the total pops in this run. But nonetheless, it was fun to see it build up to a point where it could one-shot bads. So hope you learned a little bit today, and click here for more perfect towers on perfect maps.